topic, like I said, is how do I manage daily stress so it doesn't turn into chronic stress? And I do take notes and I will refer to them frequently so that I make sure that I cover everything that I want to cover in this training. So, stress is the feeling of being unsettled or uncomfortable because of outside influences, or when we're faced with a situation that requires adjustment and responses. The body reacts physically, mentally, and emotionally. Too much stress, or what we call chronic stress, can cause many health problems. And that's what I was noticing. I was reacting to those little stresses with bigger reactions. And so that's when I noticed that I was carrying that stress and it was turning into chronic stress. Stress is a response to an external cause, such as a deadline or change in events, or too many things going on at the same time. That was for sure me. On top of the stress that I was bringing home from my job and managing, getting, kids off to sporting events or, just cooking dinner or washing clothes, I was also, and I don't know why, I've changed my thoughts now, but back then I thought, to be a good mom or to have my kids know that I was involved, I had to say yes to everything that they were involved in. If they needed a volunteer, I volunteered because I wanted my kids to think that, I was there for them. That wasn't helping them know that I was involved. That was just making my stress higher and us not being connected. So that kind of backfired on me. So, taking on too many responsibilities is also can also lead to this chronic stress. Stress can be broken down into 3 types of stress. The acute stress, which is short term and it can go away quickly. It helps you manage a difficult or a dangerous situation. It's the kind of stress that you might feel when you narrowly avoid a car accident. Episodic acute stress occurs when you frequently experience acute stress, and it's caused usually by taking on too many responsibilities or chaotic lifestyle, which is definitely what I was experiencing. And then chronic stress is a type of stress that builds up over time and can be most harmful to our health and can lead to anxiety. Chronic stress is the result of not managing acute or episodic stressors. And basically, since we don't manage it, then our body remains in that heightened state of stress. We talked about that heightened state of stress in last week's live training in regards to the physical symptoms of stress or anxiety. And so that we talked about how our bodies can be dysregulated. And so chronic stress will lead to our bodies being dysregulated and have us feeling more of those physical symptoms, and also the anxiety can start. So chronic stress is closely linked to anxiety, and chronic stress exerts a wear and tear on the body through the cumulative burden of stress and anxiety can create a feedback loop where stress leads to anxiety, which in turn makes individuals more sensitive to stressors, further increasing their stress levels. And this cycle can be difficult to break without interventions, which is why we're learning about how to manage stress today. So I'm going to review some of the triggers that can, trigger, some of the triggers of stressors. Environmental stressors, some of the triggers that can be considered in the environment is anything that deals with the environment. So too many stimuli going on at the same time, constant or loud noises, extreme conditions like extreme heat, extreme cold, storms, work-related stressors. I shared a few of mine. It was just the behavior of the kids. It also can be staff issues. I know that is a big stress to a lot of employees right now, and especially if you are in administration or upper management, you are dealing with a lot of staff shortage right now. So anything that's work related can be a trigger. Social stressors, conflicts or difficulties with friends, family, or partners. Overcommitment to social events or activities. Psychological stressors, these can be unrealistic standards or expectations that you put on yourself, persistent or critical thoughts about yourself. This goes back to some of that overthinking and that negative self-talk that we've talked about before. But this is those kind of triggers that we can see with stress. Physical stress, this can be related to if you have a chronic pain or a chronic illness that you're dealing with. This can also be insufficient amount or poor quality of sleep. It can be unhealthy eating habits or diet. It can be the increase of use of caffeine, drugs, or alcohol. Major life events, so relocating to a new home or a new city. Major life changes like a divorce, marriage issues, retirement, grieving the death of a loved one, or the end of a significant relationship. And then, of course, there's debt in the finances issue, economic hardship that can go along with major life events as well. And so how do we know that we're experiencing stress? And so some of the signs or symptoms that we know we might be experiencing stress is frequent headaches or migraines, muscle tensions, and discomfort in our joints or pain, especially in the back and the neck. That's exactly where I held mine. Feeling unusually tired without a clear reason. Experiencing rapid changes in your mood from highs to lows with no clear cause. Procrastinating or avoiding responsibilities and tasks, either due to feeling overwhelmed or a lack of energy. Withdrawing from social interactions and overextending yourself and avoiding dealing with those stressors. Relying more on alcohol, drugs, or cigarettes as a way to cope with stress. Decline in performance at work or school, often due to difficulty concentrating, making decisions, or simply due to being overwhelmed. And that's what I want to be able to help you with. I want you to be able to help you concentrate better, have none of that physical pains if we can, because some of you do have that chronic, maybe there's a chronic pain that you're always going to deal with, like arthritis. But managing our stress can definitely help us have less of that pain. Also, the sleep deprivation, stress is a huge factor in that. And then, of course, our overthinking. These are all things that I can address in the Thrive Beyond Anxiety coaching program. I want to be able to give you the skills so that you feel more joy in your life. And I want you to be able to, stop going to a physical therapist for the muscle tension in your neck. Or looking to take ibuprofen or Tylenol all the time for that pain. And again, like I said, I noticed in my own personal life that I was more irritable, and that was definitely affecting my relationship with my kids. And so I want to be able to help you have that more, connected feeling with your loved ones. So some of the stress management techniques that we can try is, one, you do need to learn, what are your triggers, because learning to manage those triggers will definitely help you in the long run. And learning your body's early signs. So recognizing, because if we ignore our early signs of stress, then those daily stressors do add up and create that chronic stress. So we want to catch it early enough so that we can stop it from moving on. You want to engage in regular exercise, such as walking, running, yoga, swimming. Any kind of exercise that you enjoy will help you with your stress, because it also produces endorphins, which is our body's natural painkiller. And so any form of exercise that you enjoy, if it's dancing, if it's swimming, anything that you like, we need to try to put it into your daily schedule. Proper sleep. We've talked about sleep deprivation a few weeks ago, and I give you a lot of tips in my Thrive Beyond Anxiety about sleep as well. And so we want to try to have quality sleep. You want to maintain healthy eating habits. Limit your intake of caffeine and sugar, which can increase stress levels. And obviously, stress, we all have our comfort foods, and a lot of times our comfort foods may not be healthy choices. And so, but those unhealthy choices might make us feel good at that moment, but long term, it's not going to help our stress level. I know a lot of times when I notice that I'm more stressed, I definitely want my chocolate. And then if I was, 15 years ago, I couldn't get through the day without that kind of extra boost of caffeine in the middle of the day. And it was probably because my sleep wasn't the greatest. I could always fall asleep and I always stayed asleep, but my quality of sleep probably was poor. I probably was waking more often than I thought in the middle of the night. And then also just that chronic stress started to wear on me, and I had that feeling of being fatigued all the time. So I was definitely probably drinking more caffeine than I needed to as well. Also, mindfulness and meditations are a good thing. There are a few apps that you can use for mindfulness and meditation. YouTube also has a free ones. I use Insight Timer, which is a good app to use. Some people use the Calm app. Some of those apps are required to pay. I do not pay anything for my Insight Timer, and I use it often for meditations. But I also, in the Thrive Beyond Anxiety Coaching Program, part of the program, you will get guided meditations and mindfulness exercises throughout the training that you have access to for a year. And so, those will always be, those will be a part of your learning process. Also, time management. Time management is a huge thing for stress. We need to recognize prioritizing our tasks, setting attainable goals, and break projects into smaller steps to reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed. We go further into time management as well in the Thrive Beyond Anxiety program. But we have to recognize that part of time management is, right now, our society is always full of distractions. And if we are someone that works on the computer, quite often distractions can pop up all day long. And so sometimes we probably have some time wasting opportunities that happen, and we need to recognize those so that we can stay on schedule of things and use our time more effectively, which will also help with our stress. Don't try to be perfect. Don't feel you have to do everything. And that is part of the perfectionist kind of overthinking that happens, and our critical thoughts and messages. So we go into that in a deeper conversation as well. And again, in coaching, you have the opportunity for group coaching calls, and these are things that as you're learning, you can ask the question and get coached and kind of get guided through that process. Don't take your work home, or on your breaks. Avoid it if you can. So many employers are expecting or wanting you to download their email to your phone. And so you never get a break. When I was working, I turned the notifications of my email off so that I never saw the little icon next to my email thing. So I wouldn't try to look at my work emails after a certain time in the evening, so that I would have that break from work to home. The pandemic really affected us because so many of us were working from home, and there was never this kind of like, it blended too much. It blended home and work too much, and we didn't have that kind of break. So it is really good, even if you work from home, to take your breaks. If you work from home or work out of the home, or even if you're a stay-at-home mom and you take small breaks, from what you are doing. So take your lunch breaks. Even if you're not a big eater at lunchtime, take that break from your tasks. So take the break away from your office or your computer, or if you're a stay-at-home mom, all the chores that you're doing in the home. If possible, take that time, take 5 minutes for yourself. Avoid the 11 p.m. news. I call it the 11 p.m. news because that's what typically is on in our household, is that's when the news would be on. But avoid hearing the uncertainties or all of the negative aspects of our world right before you go to sleep. Engage in relaxation techniques such as reading, gardening, listening to music, yoga. Whatever you find that relaxes you, engage in that during the day. Dedicate time for hobbies and interest. What brings you joy? Part of self-care is looking at what brings you joy and implementing that into your daily schedule. Have a digital detox if you need to. Avoid putting things off to the last minute. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Be assertive and express your needs and feelings with others. Say no more often. That is the one that I should have practiced a long time ago, was practicing saying no and feeling okay about it. So many times we don't feel okay about saying no. We feel that guilt feeling. Plan for change. Coping with the unexpected is a great coping skill. And develop problem-solving skills to tackle stressors head on. So I know I went over quite a few techniques, and I go into depth in these in the Thrive Beyond Anxiety program. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to me. And then again, always, in our coaching program, you have that opportunity. We have weekly group coaching calls. So if you were learning a module, if you were, learning these techniques and you were unclear about something, you can always ask a question and have me coach you. That is the great benefit of the coaching program, is that you have that opportunity to learn new skills, but then also have me guide you and help you learn them a little bit more and put them into practice. So again, thank you for joining me today. It was wonderful to be able to give you this information on how to manage our daily stress so it does not turn into chronic stress.